alone, I heard Brock Purdy compared to Joe Montana, to Mitch Trubisky, and to Jimmy Garoppolo. So just a variety of
all
players.
over the
How did
place.
you feel about his performance? Did it remind you of any of those three wildly different quarterbacks? Or do you think he's just Brock Purdy, which I don't know why we have to compare every quarterback to someone. But yeah, how
Right.
did you feel? Because we've kind of talked about like the game as a whole, but Brock Purdy's game in totality. I'm always a grader. I used to be a teacher. I'm someone who gives you more credit for the word problems at the end. So I gave him, I think it was either a C or C plus. I don't know. I was kind of tired by the time I was doing it. But I gave
Yeah.
him, I thought he had a bad game, but then, you can't want someone to do a game, to perform a game-winning drive and then also critique them so heavily for being in that position. It's like, okay, well, which one? Like, they're never gonna have a game-winning drive if they're always winning by that much. How did you feel about Brock Purdy's performance?
Yeah, I think I would have probably graded him similarly. It was a bad game, you know. I think he'd admit that. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But he had a hell of a performance when it mattered. What was he? 5 of 7 and 40 something yards in that final drive. And that one throw to Juwan Jennings was maybe
So
one of the best throws he's ever made.
best
And
throws,
and
awesome catch.
yeah, great catch. That's clutch. That's clutch. So I mean, we
Everyone,
gotta
I'm
give
gonna
Brock some
pause.
credit for being clutch.
I'm gonna pause Steph really quick because I like instinctively wanted to say like game ball Jawan Jennings. We're definitely gonna talk about him for a second. And when I went to say that, I thought everyone, if you are not on Steph's channel, which I know a lot of you are, but if you aren't already, make sure to like and subscribe to Steph's channel because she's gonna have a show right after this where she does give out game balls. And maybe if she wasn't already, she'll give a little shout out to Jawan Jennings for me because
Yeah, Jennings
he's
is definitely
stellar.
gonna like just spoiler alert. I'm definitely nominating Juwan Jennings for 49K Player of the
Stellar.
Week. I
Stellar.
mean, well, we're not even talking much about the fact that Debo like was out of this game, and he had someone like Juwan Jennings who had to step up, right? Like, and he
Yeah.
did. He answered the bell. I mean, he's been clutch when he's been asked to, which is not very often, but usually on the third downs, right? But I think we saw I mean, he just came through. He came through kind of like Dre Greenlaw did on the other side of the ball. He came through when the team needed it, and
Absolutely.
that's what good teams do. That's what good players do. So I can't really fault the 49ers. Like, yes, I think we
Yeah, I was
acknowledge all
looking
these things. Not good, but they were good and great when they needed to be.
I was looking for the stats, but I think it was like something like Jennings was like 6 of 6 targets, got yak on every single one of his except for I think one. Just completely clutch. And he has always really shown up in these limited opportunities, but it
Mhm.
definitely felt like he got even more of those opportunities in this game with the absence of Deebo Samuel. And you gotta love players that stay ready like that. Chris Conley, so minimal on I think only one catch.
That was the
The catch that I'm thinking about,
that was a
but like
great like play though.
critical. Like they
Yeah,
don't like
that
it's
was big.
possible they don't win the game. Like you need that player who I mean, special teams player like rarely ever gets called up in the regular game, and you see guys like that who are just 110% ready for the moment. I have such respect for that because you have no idea when those moments are going to come. And guys like Jawan Jennings, and then I don't know why I threw Chris Conley in there, but I was just so impressed
I
by that.
mean, he had that good place,
And
and that
that's
was
how you
critical.
win. That's how you win the Super Bowl too. Like you have your star players have to play like stars, but every team needs these like little rotational pieces, these extra guys for when Kyle Shanahan, I was going to say for when Chris McCaffrey is covered, but that wasn't even happening. For when Kyle Shanahan loses his mind and decides against one of the worst run defenses in the NFL that he's not going to use his star running back who literally was breaking historic records. Definitely, I think isn't even a stretch. Probably going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like incredible running back is just on your team, but Kyle decided, hey, against this really bad run defense, let's not use him. So in situations like that, when that's happening and the coach is set on throwing the ball instead, you need Jawan Jennings and Chris Conley to step up. But no, that was a little dig at Kyle Shanahan, a little over dramatic there. But yeah, I think we want George Kittle to be George Kittle. We want Christian McCaffrey to be Christian McCaffrey, but teams don't win without those key first downs. Those, everyone says third and Juwan, and he was more than that in that last game. So definitely impressed by him. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I would say that Brock Purdy's game was necessarily Joe Montana-esque, not because Joe Montana didn't play some games and then pull them out at the end, but I think Joe Montana did that for years and years and years and also had multiple Super Bowls, and it's just a little silly to say that about him
just a little premature.
Yeah. And then with Jimmy Garoppolo, I also don't think that that's a fair comparison. I think it was Josh Dubow.
We're way past that.
Yeah. I think it was Josh Dubow, and he put out like the touchdown to interception record for both of them in the playoffs. Brock Purdy, I know that there was like there was opportunities for Green Bay to catch the ball, but there's areas, a quarterback is going to give the defense a chance. Every quarterback is going to do that. Patrick Mahomes is going to do that. I'm not comparing Brock Purdy to Patrick Mahomes, but opportunities are there. Jimmy Garoppolo had interceptions that weren't caught, and then he also had the like 6 interceptions that were caught in the playoffs. Brock Purdy currently has 0. So I don't think that it's fair to compare him to either of those quarterbacks. I think both of them are kind of extreme. I want to say similarly confident in Brock Purdy. I've always had confidence, but then some, I think, healthy hesitancy about him and being younger and his physical ability. But also I've been very open to being impressed and definitely bought into a ton of the hype. And I think a lot of that is deservedly so. And I don't think this game changes that 1,000% for me. Aside from, I do think being able to come back after having a really terrible game does show some mental fortitude. And we haven't really seen Brock Purdy struggled with mental fortitude in situations like that. Maybe when he throws an interception, I think the Ravens game he did struggle a little bit mentally with that comeback. But I want to say my confidence and belief in Brock Purdy's ability to win a Super Bowl this year with this team is around the same. But yeah, I don't think Jimmy G. I think way better than Jimmy G. And I think silly to compare any quarterback to the greatest quarterback to ever live. Maybe,
like why even just like that's just putting so much unnecessary pressure and comparisons on Brock. Like it's just not necessary.
Yes.